Yeah.
Yeah, I had a Radio Shack color computer that I just got rid of a couple years ago to the color computer group. There's still a color computer group up here in the Chicago area that I belonged to 35 years ago.
Well,
They're still going strong.
I was in the Washington apple pie when I was stationed in the Navy in the DC area, and I saw on the APC UG users group, there was a representative from that present. They're still going strong. Good evening, Bud. Welcome.
Good evening. Did I come through?
Yep, you came
Okay.
through. Good.
Well, at least it looks like your attendance has picked up a little bit already.
Yeah, we don't really start the meeting 30 minutes ahead of time like you do or other groups do. We just sort of start it when I can get in and get these computers hooked up. I try to use the club's Linux computer for the demonstrations and do the host on my desktop.
Well, right now I'm on the Windows computer, not on my Linux, even though I've got it sitting here. I just have to log back in.
Well, John Kennedy had mentioned to us that the way that Zoom works, it works a little differently in Mint or in Linux than it does in Windows. So to
Yeah,
get all the features, you gotta have it in your Windows computer anyway.
well, the other thing is on my Mint, I have a program. It's Linux version. It's called OBS Studio, and I use OBS Studio to record a lot of our meetings, and it works fine like a champ on Windows. I haven't tried it on a Mac because mine are real old, but at the same time too, on Linux, I've been having headaches. I keep chipping away at the problems on it. The last one I think I have is to figure out why it's not recording sound of any kind, whether it's mine or the audience.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I had all kinds of problems. I finally cracked the nut on the video. It wasn't recording the video. It just went through the motions of making a blank video that has nothing in it. Now it at least produces the video portion, but no audio. But I also did find out recently, I had beginning of this month, and I had a strange problem I never had before. Zoom was not picking up my microphone on the webcam camera. I did find out later this boom mic on the headset did work. I had the same thing in Teams. Well, in doing some investigation, I found out that I know there's a plethora of drivers. I try and update them like crazy. And there was one driver that was needed called stream.sys, and it was MIA on the webcam. So I had to deinstall the webcam, reinstall it until I finally got it back in. Things work fine now. Weird problem.
I'm using a microphone that I purchased to support hybrid meetings pre-pandemic. Has a very good omnidirectional or unidirectional range. It's got a switch for cardioid or unidirectional or omnidirectional on it. Made by Samsung, and it's not S-U-N-G, S-O-N, Samsung, and listed on Amazon. And I'm sitting arm length and a half away from it in my chair, just conversationally talking. So it's unless I had a lot of outside noise, which I do get sometimes, then I would switch over to my headset. And typically, if I'm doing a webinar, I'll switch to my headset.
I use Crisp to keep the background noise out. And if it's on, you don't hear anything that's going on in the rest of the house.
I haven't tried that. I
And
should.
my mic isn't right by me either. It's off to the side. I hate it when you have yeah, this crap with the mic, you know, with you.
Yeah.
Nah, forget it. That's fine. Get it the heck out of here, and it still works just as well.
Well, I got so frustrated before I found out the mic on this headset worked that I happened to remember I had an old junk, cheap microphone. I plugged it in, it worked. Don't ask me why, but it worked. And that's before I fixed the problem. I don't get some of the technology at times. I have no idea why that critical driver was lost to the groupings in Device Manager, but was still there on the system. I didn't have to install it again. So what the heck was going on? I guess your guess is as good as my guess.
Donna, you want to check out your microphone and say hi tonight?
Are you talking to me?
Donna,
Oh, Donna?
which one of the Donnas? Either she's got Donna and she's got Darna Armitage, which could be Ken, not sure.
Right.
You want to unmute one and say hi, or say hi later tonight? Okay, well, I'll share my screen and we'll get this thing going. So,
Hello, Mike.
yes, hello.
Just saying hello.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Stu. Good. I had to look up and see that. All right, so let's see if I have to do this here. Okay, so I want to make sure that I share sound. Yeah, that's what I definitely want to do. Screen 2. Share that. Look over at my other one and see if it's there. Okay. And okay, change workspace. There we go. I don't see it. Let me just go. There we go. Okay, I wanted to see it over on the other machine. Okay. Okay, for the recording, this is the Central Florida Computer Society Linux Special Interest Group, January 12th, 2022. We have a few stalwart souls that have joined us tonight, and I welcome you all. Sean, I think just came in. You want to say hi, Sean, and check your microphone out?
You're muted.
I sorry, I definitely had it muted.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so here's the agenda for tonight. We're in the middle of informal discussion for a few more minutes. The distro of the quarter was convenient in that Linux Mint decided to upgrade to version 20.3 as I was trying to decide what distro to load on the club computer. So I figured, well, we'll go over the upgrade process, what I did. Then we'll open the mic and the video and let you all talk about what you're doing with Linux. The utility of the month is Stacer, which is kind of a Linux version of CCleaner and a system status, all sort of rolled into one. Kind of nice. And I'll credit, I think Donna, I'll credit Donna with calling that to my attention. Then we'll follow that up with some Q&A, and I'll go over some of the current resources and recommendments for topics as I usually do. Let's see, anything anybody has really hot that they want to mention before we start the formal presentations tonight? Okay.
I did see offhand, your posting recently about Firefox, and you did at the beginning here before the meeting started talk about John's opinion of Zoom on Linux.
Yeah,
It might be worth repeating.
there's a good discussion going on right now on the Linux group on MeWe about Firefox and what's actually embedded, the telemetry that's embedded in it as a result of Mozilla deciding that they want to screen content that goes through it. Yet Mozilla continues to talk about improving the privacy of the people who use it. So I decided the easiest thing to do was just delete Firefox and get on with Brave.
Well,
Okay.
the headache with Linux on that is so many distros come with Firefox already there. A lot of times it's,
And now Mint's going to go to Google.
yeah,
So, and who knows what else they're going to stick in there. So we'll find out if word comes out that they've decided to put some telemetry into to go, send stuff back through Google servers. I'll be switching from Mint.
well, the other is Linux. Zoom, excuse me. I just saw today that there's a privacy statement and they use cookies, which can be abused for tracking.
Yep, can be. Anybody's cookies can be abused. You hope they don't. Okay, so upgrading to Linux Mint 20.3. So let's take a quick look at the first, let's see here, website. How to upgrade to Linux Mint 20.3. It actually, if you go to the main linuxmint.com website, you don't see this there. You've got to know to go to the blog. If you go to the download and the update and the rest of that that's there, yeah, you get the instructions. But essentially, right now, at least in my searches over the last several days and putting this presentation together, it was the blog itself that walks you through the steps, and several other bloggers have basically republished these steps. So I also have a short video that I'm going to play, but essentially they give you the precautions, create a system snapshot of what you've got, just in case it messes up and you want to restore it. That's always a good idea to do anyway. They say to disable your screensaver. I don't think I did that, to be honest with you, but probably a good idea, especially if your power settings say to go to standby after a certain period of time. You certainly don't want it going to standby in the middle of an upgrade process. I haven't investigated cinnamon spices. So maybe that's a subject for one of our future sessions. Things that will improve what applications or what distro you've actually got of the Cinnamon desktop. And let's see, upgrade them from system settings. Okay, well, I haven't done that. Okay, then they say it's relatively easy. Well, until I saw this, I was looking for the update, looked for it in the software manager. I guess that wasn't there. And you don't actually download the update from the website either. So where it is if you go to the upgrade manager, and I'll show you some screenshots of that, you go to edit. And then under edit, if your computer is now eligible, and that's a big if, you'll then see upgrade to Linux Mint 20.3 UNA.
Mike, just to break in here for a
Go ahead.
second, I had the update offered to me.
Really?
Yeah, and I just click a button and it said install it.
That's interesting.
It
Okay.
is installed.
On the club's computer, as I say, this is what I did. On my HP computer, which is a second desktop, when I went to this screen, this was not here. And I said, So you can also refresh the update manager. I refreshed the update manager and it had a whole bunch of updates that it wanted to install. I let it do that, and then I rebooted. And then when I went into it on my desktop, I got upgrade to Linux Mint. Okay. Follow the instructions. We'll talk about that. They talk about some of the themes have been changed. And if you want, you can go get some of the old themes back with a terminal command. And when it's done, you'll be told to reboot your computer. So they're also saying, make sure you've got the latest version of Mint Update and Mint Upgrade info. So that may well be that I did not have the latest version of the upgrade manager, and that's why I didn't get it offered to me. So that was the setup. Okay, so now we'll take a quick look at the video. And this is a third-party YouTube video. And this pretty well summarizes exactly what I've done.
Hey mates, welcome to Tech Solutions. Linux Mint 20.3 UNA is now officially released. Do you want to upgrade your old Linux Mint 20.1 or 20.2 to Linux Mint 20.3 without removing or deleting your data? It's super easy and simple. You must be seeing that we are on Linux Mint 20.2 UMA release. Let's update to version 20.3. Open Update Manager on your Linux Mint. In the Edit tab, you must be seeing Upgrade to Linux Mint 20.3 UNA option. Just click it to start the upgrade process. You must be seeing the availability of the new version of Linux Mint. Click Next. You can see the release notes for Linux Mint 20.3 if you want. Click Next once again. You can also read about the new features in this new release of Linux Mint 20.3. Click Next for the last time. Accept the upgrade by checking the checkbox and click Apply. Enter your password to authenticate. The upgrade process will start swiftly by downloading package information. This may take a while to download all the upgrades. So have patience. Do not exit or close it during upgrade process. Once all the files are downloaded, they will be installed automatically. Once done, you can close the Update Manager safely. Reboot your Linux Mint to apply changes. Welcome to your new Linux Mint 20.3. You must be seeing the new welcome screen. You can also verify it through command line interface. You are now on Linux Mint 20.3 and successfully upgraded your old Linux Mint 20.2. This also works for Linux Mint 20.1.
Okay, I guess I was trying to close that advertisement and it stopped it, but we pretty much finished it. All right, so let me close that. Okay, so I'll first show you the slideshow of me doing the same thing he did, then I'll come back to the individual pages. So we'll go back to, okay, slideshow. Oh, I'm in it. Well, am I in it? Why am I not? I must be behind this. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Okay, so this is captured, screen captured exactly from what I did on the Central Florida Computer Society's Lenovo. And I did have that on there without doing the upgrade to the update manager. And there was the there was the introduction. It then said go to the release notes, same way, and I have the link there, plus it'll be in the show notes. Then it said, here's where you can find the new features. And again, the link is here. I clicked the understand the risk and do you want to update and apply, and I waited. It didn't go to a summary and it didn't seem to do anything. So I wound up clicking apply several times before I finally got the apply. And then it started downloading the package files, and I did the same thing the previous presenter did. You've got a little drop down and you can watch it download the individual files if you wish. I'm sort of wondering why all of this is in the update manager and there isn't just a terminal command to do it, but because that then could just let you type in an update terminal command. And I had looked at the app update distro command, which did not seem to do the update to the distro. Updated a lot of packages, but it didn't update the distro. So it looks like for now, it's going to be in the graphical environment. And then for me to actually check it out, I used a command, cat, and what that means, type, if you will, from the etc. folder, a file called Linux Mint info, or Linux Mint, and then in the info folder, Linux Mint folder is the file info, and that then is, let's see, here we go. So package this, package is up to date. All right, so there's where I typed it. And then this is what you get. It says release 20.3, Una, Cinnamon, then the description, tells you the desktop. It also gives you the links again as to where you can get the new features, the release notes, and so on. Okay, so we will go back. Now, here is the release notes page. They say it's a long-term support release. It'll be supported until 2025. Some refinements, many new features, and bug corrections. I'm still not sure exactly why the Snap Store is disabled, and I re-enabled it on my my own HP desktop running Linux Mint, and you can actually go to this link and get the information on re-enabling the Snap Store. I want to go back in and see if doing the update disabled it again, because I still want the Snap Store available. There have been some VirtualBox problems, which they say they've fixed. They talk about what happens if you get a garbled screen. You can have encryption, but for some reason, the home folder, the home directory encryption is slower than a full disk encryption. I don't use either, but it would seem to me if your concern was your own personal data, you'd actually want to encrypt your home screen. Let's see, guest sessions, some touchpad driver issues and some corrections for them if your touchpad drivers are not working after the install. If you are still trying to make Wine work and run Windows apps in Linux, which I've pretty much given up doing, they have you do the Wine installation again. And Tim, you were talking about sound and microphone issues. So there is something called PAVU control you might want to check out. It says this will add pulse audio volume control to your menu. And there's more configuration options in the default volume control, which might help you. If VLC is your default media player, or you've downloaded and installed it and you wind up with issues, they have you do this command, and there's some other issues. And they're saying, be sure to read the Ubuntu release notes. So if that were an issue, so right now I haven't done that. They do, if you're running it from a flash drive and you want to actually log in, most people don't. Most people just boot it up and then, just use it in the public session that results. But they're saying if you are prompted for a boot and you have the latest 20.3, they're saying in the live session, use the username mint with a blank password. Some discussion about moving windows, installing multimedia codecs. And I do know that when you're installing Mint for the first time, one of your options is to check a box and say, download and install third-party multimedia codecs. But here again, if for some reason after you've done the update and you're not able to play some things, you could go ahead and follow those instructions. Some freezes with graphic cards not working properly and how to get around those. And saying choosing the right version. So I didn't run into any of these particular problems. New features, we'll go over some of these tonight and probably focus, if we do a combined meeting with BCUG next month, probably in March. By that time, I'll have had a lot of time with it, and I'll look at some of the new apps that are included. But you can go down through this and see some of the new things. They've got a new player for videos called Hypnotics. Don't think I want to be hypnotized while I watch it, but supposed to give you live movie streaming and things for your notebook or for your computer. An app called Thingy, which is a document manager. It looks like what it's doing is giving you larger previews of what's in your documents folder rather than just opening up the file manager and changing the view. Sticky notes, which I do use on my Windows computer and have used from time to time on the Linux computer. And I was not really happy with the default sticky notes that came with Mint. So I want to check out the new ones and see, what they're doing and seeing if it's actually something I would prefer to have. And I was using a third-party app. I'll have to see which Linux app I was using for sticky notes. Put those in my notes. They say that the note has been improved by embedding the title within the note. So, I see. Okay, so the title is Miss, and then he's got a number and a gate code and a few other things, and you can do some text editing and so on, multiple text sizes. Not to be outdone by Windows 11 rounded corners. The developers decided, okay, we'll give you rounded corners in Mint. So now, if you like rounded corners, I don't look at my corners. I use just look at my computer.
It's a big feature. What do you mean?
The interesting thing is, though, they've made their rounded corners unique. Probably can't see it that well in this screenshot. Let's see if I do a Control+ here. I'm gonna get bigger.
Yeah.
So the top has got rounded corners, but the bottom are still square. Figure that one out. I'm not quite sure why. Get back down to 100%. Okay. Accents, less is more. Yeah, okay. Well, I got rounded on the top and square on the bottom. A lot of people like their Linux to be white on black or dark mode. So they say they've got a full feature dark mode support now. And I know a number of the bloggers on YouTube like that that dark mode. I haven't gotten to particularly like it, but they now, these particular apps by default will be in the dark mode. So, and other than my terminal, which always has been dark anyway. They say less complexity and work better in a variety of cases. So instead of providing two separate title bar themes, one light and one dark, it provides a theme which dynamically adjusts its colors to the selected control theme. Okay, again, I have not played with that, but it's there. And again, this light dark thing, that seems to have been a focus of the developers when they did this update. And a light panel. Okay, so you got a light panel. And what else? We got visual. Yeah, preferences are always subjective. Okay. So, all right. Then documentation, which you can get directly off the Linux Mint website, starts with installation. And this is actually installation of the whole distro. And then quite a bit of stuff to read. If you truly want to do it, you can download a user guide and put it on the computer and read the different chapters as you go. There's also a troubleshooting guide. So this, again, with the problems that Tim was having with the microphone, you might have found something in here in the troubleshooting and the ability to report bugs that you have. Most of us don't need translation guides unless you're not a native English speaker. I don't think any of us here are developers, but there's probably some things in there that if you really want to dig into the customization of the operating system, or take a look at, they give you, all the ins and outs for development. Okay. So before we actually go round robin, and I wanted to do a demonstration, so I'll put this back here and I'll switch over, stop my sharing. And if I'm talking sideways and not coming through, somebody let me know that the sound is not coming through, and I'll switch my microphone. So we'll share the screen on this guy. Like not to have this on here, so let's see if I can get rid of it. Saying return to meeting, and I don't know why that's there. All right, I'm just going to leave the Zoom client open. It's black. That's the Zoom client in the beginning. I will try, I think it's Control-Shift-H to hide meeting controls. Let's see if that goes away. No, and I don't know why that's there. Do this, I'm going to stop sharing. So maybe it's underneath it. Ah, there we go. Okay. All right, so what you see on the left is, because I did a fresh install of Linux Mint 20.2 first on this notebook, and the two default icons that I had were the computer and home. And then I plugged in my SD card into the slot, and it popped up and gave me the little icon so I could see what was on it. And then I installed PC Cloud so that I could share programs from my desktop to this computer. Since then, I installed Brave, have not yet uninstalled Firefox, which I'm probably going to do. The welcome screen that they spoke about is here, and you can go back through this if you like and follow the steps, because now you've got some new desktops that you can work with light and dark and so on. And this is interactive, so you can walk through the system snapshots and double check your drivers, double check the update. And by the way, when I ran the update manager, there was almost immediately some updates to install. And since then, it's been 2 days now since I've done this, and I've probably installed updates 3 times. So the updates with the new version are coming fast and furious. You can take a look at your system settings. You can double check your software manager, and you can take a look at the firewall. Here's the documentation we were talking about. And again, it's, the guides. This is going to actually take you right back to the Mint website. The new features, this is going to take you to the new features website, and this is going to take you to the release notes. So it pretty much repeats what we've just gone through, and that's available. I also installed Time Shift, and then when I first walked away from the computer after doing all this installation, I had Time Shift archive everything that had been updated on the, I have a 32 gigabyte SD card, and I had it update everything that was there. I use screenshots a lot. The screenshots are on the menu. Screenshots, and I just said, add it to the panel so it's easy to get to. And now whenever I'm doing something and I want to take a screenshot, I can just click on this. And I also wanted to have Time Shift there. And in addition to having Nemo, which is the file manager, accessible, and as I said, the home was on the desktop when I first got there, and it immediately opened up, didn't have anything in here to speak of at the time. And then if you want the full file manager, by default, it was on my panel. And so I clicked there and it went and gave me the full file manager. Let's see what else I did to it. I like a clipboard manager. So I installed Clipit by going to the software manager and saying, okay, would you install Clipit for me? And as you can probably see, I don't have a lot of history at the moment. The one thing I did do was get the address of on my home network of where the agenda was as a JPEG. So that's the only thing that's in the history. But as you use the clipboard manager, it will put copies of the clips or the URLs, whatever you've been doing, and you'll wind up with a list that grows. And you can cycle through, you can tell how much history and how much to keep. I told you that I installed pCloud so that I could get to the various different locations. And I went to the pCloud website. I downloaded the app for Linux. I found it, I made it executable. And when it was executable, it installed it such that it would show up as a drive that could be mounted. And if I double click on this here, it opens up in the file manager as a drive, pCloud drive. And here's the Linux SIG file that I have also saved up on pCloud with the various things from, including our Penguin and our January folders. So that made, in our quest to get file sharing, John Kennedy put me onto pCloud, and I found it really is worthwhile getting, even if you only get the free version. And during Black Friday, they had a special deal of 20 gigabytes, right? 20 gigabytes, right? Or was it 2 terabytes? 2 terabytes of storage, that's what it was. 2 terabytes of storage on an annual basis at a significant discount. And and it was a lifetime. It's not an annual fee. So I took advantage of it. And if I remember correctly, Donna did as well. And as I'm looking at this, I even see, yep, there's some updates available as we're sitting here talking about it. What else did I put in? I put Zoom on so we could do what we're doing now. And while I'm here, anybody have any questions about the basics of what I'm looking at, of a fresh install of Linux Mint, the apps that I did install, and then the update to 20.3.
I have it on my Mint that it's available through the update manager, but I haven't looked into it. I didn't know about the 20.3 because I've been tied up with so much other garbage.
I don't know, I don't know that I'm going to see a big difference. It's just like many of the Windows update packages. I don't see a big difference.
Yeah, sometimes what most of it is behind the scenes code for functionality, bug fixes, security updates, stuff like that.
So I'll note that just popped up in chat. Is this a long-term version? Yes, I believe it said for 5 years. And even 20.2 was 5 years. So it's just sort of advanced the date by, was it 122.2 coming out about a year ago? So it just keeps, it's not a rolling distribution, but you're getting concise 5-year periods of time. Okay, so I will stop share over here. And come back to the center. Please share the screen. All righty, round robin. And where I turn the microphone to you. Open mic time. Time to tell your Linux jokes. So, Sean, I always pick on you. So why don't you go first? What have you been doing over the holidays with Linux, and what's forefront for you?
This isn't necessarily with Linux. It's between all operating systems. There's an open source site that I found that's pretty well developed. It's called dwservice.net, and it allows you to you can do just a one-off support where you have the other person go to the website and download an agent that they install, and actually they don't install it, they click run, and it provides a username and password, and you on your side can go to the same site and put that username and password into the username and password field on the secure website, and then be able to remotely control their computer or access their files or look at their tasks, find out if there's something wrong. I can show you what it looks like if you'd like.
Sure.
Can I do a screen share?
I'll just have to make you a co-host. Hang on a moment.
Okay.
Participants. Sean Moore. Co-host. Okay, you should be able to share your screen now.
Okay. Let's see. I think I'm going to have to restart. I might disconnect in a minute. I want to do the share, and on Mac it makes you quit and reopen. So just a second.
Okay.
Maybe it won't. Okay, let's see. Okay, so can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the website, dwservice.net. It's free. I've actually paid for, I could have done this whole thing for free to support my clients. However, first of all, I wanted to support the project because it's great. Secondly, by paying some money, I think it was $120, I can go up to 14 megabits per second instead of, I think the default is 6 megabits per second as far as screen being able to share or copy files. So I thought that was nice, nice to have, but supporting it really is what I wanted to do. What I would do if I wanted to Well, actually, Mike, are you interested in testing this with me?
I don't think it would be a good idea for me to do it in the middle of the conference.
Okay, so the way it works is you would click on download, and it downloads an agent that you then run, which I can do here. Click download, and I'm going to open it. And well, you can't see that, so I won't do that now. Check that.
Well, in general, how does this compare to other remote control capabilities, such as with TeamViewer
Yep.
or Zoom's capability to do one-on-one screen sharing and remote control,
So
or
this is-
Windows?
So this is what the interface looks like here. This is another tab. Yeah, what I did was I created an account under login. I went ahead and set up I registered. And once you do that, then you can do things like inside of, this is the kind of the default screen, very clean, very simple. If I click on agents, these are all the agents for computers that that I have the ability to connect to.
Wow.
I can just filter out the ones that are currently online. I can filter out the ones that are unavailable, or ones that I've set up to install, but I haven't installed yet, or disabled. I can also group by the different, I can make groups. So for instance, here on the right, it says groups. So I can create a group if I want to. Let's call this one CFCS. Could put a description if I wanted to. Now I've got a group. Now I can add computers or agents into that group. So I can focus down on just a set of computers. So say you have a business that has 5 computers, you can put them all in that group, and then you can just focus on just that business. So for instance, if I go into agents and I just want to see, I'm just going to go to mine. This is right now, I've just got my one computer installed. And but if I had more computers, I will. I'll put more computers in here. This is the first computer of my own that I've actually installed this on, and I did this during the meeting. But if you click on the computer, it says available. Let me backtrack just a little bit. Back on this tab, this is that screen where you downloaded the file. What happens is you download the file and instruct the user to run the file or open the file. While it's opening, it gives them the option to either just run the file or to install it. If it installs, then you have access in the future to that same computer. If they were to click on run, they will be provided with a username and password that I could put into these fields, these 2 fields here, and just do a one-time connect.
Okay, much like TeamViewer does. You've got a user code and then a password.
With TeamViewer, that's a good question. I was wondering this. Do you have to create an account for TeamViewer?
No.
Oh, there's a free version.
Yeah.
No, I mean, do you have to create an account to
No.
Well,
run?
for like
No.
what you're doing, they probably would require you to register and get a paid license version.
If you were doing it commercially like you are, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So that's an advantage, right? So I could do this. This is the free version of that. If I had them actually install it, I would then provide them with a code. So for instance, over here under my SKTC group, I can click plus. Actually, I don't have to be in that group, but I'm going to click plus, and I'm going to, right off the bat, I'm going to say, this is somebody that works at SKTC. The name of the computer is server-mail. And I'm going to hit, I can say this is the mail server. I'm going to hit confirm. Now, under, let's go back to SKTC. Under, I'm going to say to install. So you can see here, I've created an agent. And when I talk to the person, that's going to be me. When I talk to that person and they install that they install the agent, they will be presented with a place where they can enter a code. And this is the code that I give them. It's a one-time code. I give it to them and it allows the agent to connect and hook up with the DW service. And as a result, you get something like this where, okay, now I've got full access to that computer. So if I click on that, brings me to a new tab and it actually has connected to that computer. So I can do several things here. One of them is I can look at the resources and I can see how much RAM, and processing power and so forth is being used. I can go under, it tells me also information about the computer, what the processor is, architecture, what the operating system is running. As you can see, this is a Debian Linux system. Under tasks, you can see what tasks are running. You can sort by the tasks that are using the most memory, or that's usually how you do it, by user. So if I wanted to sort by, the user that's on there, find out what tasks, if there's something that's broken, and then what services are running. So that's under resources. So I'm going to close that, and then you go back, it takes you back here. I could also go into shell, and this works in not only Linux, but also in on Windows. So if I wanted to shell into a Windows, this would say C:\/ here. But I could run, if they were having some kind of problems, I could type ping, google.com. And if it's pinging here, this is an example. Kind of a cool thing to be able to do that. I'm disconnecting from that. Then you can also do a screen share. So this is the MacBook Pro that I have that's running Linux. So you log in here. The cursor is really big because I use my cursor on the MacBook Pro on the Linux is not this big. It seems to amplify even larger on when you're using DW service. But as you can see here, I had a terminal window open. I had just updated this system. I did an apt-get upgrade. But the benefits of being able to do this at this cost and to be able to organize and have groups and to be able to do this is just fantastic. It's a game changer. And I don't have really high requirements. I don't have a whole lot of clients, and going with something like ConnectWise or something like that. I mean, you're in the hundreds or even thousands of dollars to be able to do the same thing that I'm doing here in essence for free. It's open source. So, and this doesn't have to be business. I mean, you could create an account here, just register for a free account, and then you could plug in all your computers. So if you're away from home and you want to remote back in and connect to your computers, they'll be listed here, and you can just click into whichever one you want. Or if you have family members or friends that you normally help with tech stuff, this is a great way to do that. So I've been very impressed, and walking an end user on the other side, even something that's not technical, through the install of that agent it's a walk in the park. I have yet to have somebody that had any real problem with doing it. It's pretty straightforward. So, any questions?
Looks interesting, something I will certainly check out.
Me too.
I think it's interesting too, Nat, and I use quite a few different agents to start with. Of course, when I'm on Windows, you have a built-in one that beats using the old remote desktop on Windows.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time too, you have other tools for when I'm on my old Macs or Linux.
I especially see two things that interest me. Is the Raspberry Pi would make a lot of sense. So if you don't want to have to use SSH to get into it, once you put the agent on it and you've got it there just to double click on, and you've left it open and running, you're immediately in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have also been looking at the Pine phone. There was an announcement this week that the new upgraded Pine phone, which runs a version of of Linux as its operating system has come out. Very reasonably priced, but they also recommend having a keyboard and knowing, how to get in, how to type your commands at the terminal and get into it and manage it. They say it's really for developers only. But again, if you could put the Pine phone on this and it was on and running and whatever, you could just be sitting at your desktop and double click on this and go to the screen and have access to it and be able to update it and get new apps and things like that. So that looks interesting.
Mhm.
Well, I'll put in 2 cents there. Pine is a single board computer like Raspberry Pi. It's
Ah,
been around for quite some time, along with a bunch of others. The WAN board I haven't heard of before, but hell, there's so many single board computers out there. I don't know most of them probably.
okay, so they're not really talking about the Pine phone, but I didn't realize it was a single board like the Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, that's what it originally is. The phone is more recent. There's another one called Orange Pie, Banana Pie, and I forget some of the other ones. They're all spin-offs, mostly out of China, that are kind of trying to get on the Raspberry Pi bandwagon with their own slight variation. Some of them do a decent job in support, but nothing comes close to the support you get on Raspberry Pi. That's the sad part. And Linux is you might say all the operating systems and software are all works in progress. Therefore, since humans make them, there are mistakes we call bugs. You have security issues. I got an article I'll be publishing probably tomorrow that just says that there is some company that produces libraries that is been screwing around with everybody who used them, kind of as some sort of retaliation. I didn't have time to read any of the article yet, so I don't know the details.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
I'm gonna play with that. And I just noticed the Raspberry Pi 2 when I clicked on that link for additional downloads, and I have a couple of Raspberry Pi. So, and I don't use them in a graphical way, but I can certainly use the SSH, be able to secure shell right from my web browser, and also for to look at the resources and find out if there's something that's causing it to hang or be slow and so forth. So anyway, I hope you guys found that useful.
Yeah, thank you.
Sounds something very interesting.
I have a question.
Sure,
Sean,
Stan.
Yeah.
you mentioned family. So my thing that you haven't mentioned at all, does it work with like an Android or an iPhone? Can they also be part of this group? It's
No, just computers.
just computers.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, Tim. What?
I haven't done a lot. I've been swamped with CCS stuff, to be frank, and I had a cold, which is almost like getting the flu for me, that knocked me out a bit, and a neighbor that ended up in a T-bone crash, and I had to drive her around 3 days for medical stuff before finally family members stepped in. But anyway, the only thing I've really been doing on Linux is working on some of my other systems, getting a lot of distros up to date. I've also found a few of them have some serious bugs in them, and I may have to reinstall a few of them. But they're all learning operations to begin with. And really, if you're playing with the computers, you have to be in learning mode all the time.
Well, hopefully some of us can just install an operating system, figure out how it works, get the basics, and then just use it as an operating system. which I
Sure.
said back in May last year, that was my real goal, is to get everybody up to at least a user level, an average user level, at least the competency of what they had with their prior operating system, whether it was Apple or Windows. And then,
Yeah.
we'll look at some advanced features and some outliers, but ultimate goal was to put us out of business and just, have a social group with Linux.
Well, in 2 weeks, I have the Chicago Computer Society group on Linux. And I do have some newbies in that group. And I can almost bet a dollar bill right now that I can think of one person in that group probably still hasn't got his system up.
Okay. Bud Gallagher, what's up?
Bud Gallagher hasn't done much of anything in Linux except, like I said, I stumbled upon the update and I clicked the button and I kind of went through exactly what you did, except it was kind of semi-automated and scripted, but same screen, same click the box, okay, and that kind of stuff. I haven't really explored it much yet, but I spent probably most of 2022 running to doctor's appointments and stuff like that, between dentists and stuff like that, and between myself and my wife. So not much computer playtime this last few weeks.
Okay. Well, Bob G, thanks for joining us tonight. If I said, what are you doing computer-wise these days, I would probably have you talk for the next hour. So putting it all concisely, maybe with a Linux focus, what if anything have you been doing with Linux over the last month?
Turn your mic on.
Yeah, turn your mic on.
I have one old computer on which I have Mint installed. And every once in a while I go to it and I do an update, and that's about as far as I've gotten.
Okay. I suggested to Huey after he made some comments that I posted in the TechSig and the Linux group, that with his upcoming boxing match with Ron Brown next Monday over backups, maybe we could have a future boxing match on Tech for Seniors on Windows versus Linux, and that might be interesting. Something like that to do. Timothy Childers, what have you been doing with Linux these days?
Well, I've been dabbling with it for a long time, trying to learn it, and I signed up for the LFCS class and got myself a server. I'm renting a server for $3 a month in Canada with an Ubuntu server distro on it. And I'm finding that accessing a server is very different than having a desktop.
Oh yeah.
I've had many desktops, and I've run CentOS and Kali and Ubuntu desktops, but I'm having trouble with the setting up the SSH keys, and I have to redo the whole process when I move from my desktop Mac to my laptop Mac to access that server that I'm renting. So I think I'm having a little trouble conceptually with SSH keys.
Sean, have you got any recommendations, given that you use your Apple?
A class tutorial.
With regards to SSH keys, so you're trying to get them, you're trying to paste them in so that you can just connect without having to put a password in?
Yeah, the server distro that comes free, with the cheap $3 a month plan.
Yeah.
Requires, it won't let me log in without an SSH key.
Good.
Period. There is no password option.
Yeah, that's good.
As I eventually learned after about 3 tech support emails.
Right.
They said there is no password only option. You have to create a self-signed key on your Mac in
Right.
terminal.
And you're connecting from a Mac to this computer?
Well, yeah, I'm just running, a Z shell terminal and connecting to this computer and going through the LFCS classes on, the basics of file management and, database management.
You might, one of the things you might try is changing your default shell from ZHS or Z.
Z shell is the
Z shell.
default.
Change it back to bash or BSH. I would imagine that they're giving you instructions in bash instead of Z shell. So that might be something to try. And you do that through your through system preferences under users and groups. You click on your name. You have to unlock the pane. But if you click on your name, right click on your name, it'll give you the option to advanced features. And then when you see the advanced features section, you'll see it on there. It'll say, what do you want your default shell to be? It'll say what's it called? ZSH.
BSH.
You can change it to a bunch of other ones, but bash was the.
Okay. Yeah, I've been doing it on the command line every time I log in.
Yeah. So they should be providing you with some good support, and they're not. Is that right?
Not for $3. No, that's $25 a month if you want 5-day-a-week support.
What's the company?
Sorry, don't know.
That's okay.
It's a Canadian
If
company.
it comes to you, come back and tell us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice little server for $3. It's
What are
just
you
right.
going to use it? What are you going to use it for once you get it working the way it's supposed to?
Well, once I get it working, I'm going to set up a more powerful server and do a little bit of image processing. I do a little bit of astronomy, and I don't have an M1 Mac, which would be preferable. But I'm going to do some image processing of raw files and astronomy.
There's a company called Linode that I think will let you sign up for free for the first 30 days. I found out about Linode from a YouTube video by the name, the guy's name is, the site name or the channel name is.
Yeah, I'm familiar with them. They're another option that I can use once I switch over from this basic, one CPU system to something a little more powerful.
Have you paid yet for this service?
Oh yeah, I'm paying every month. It's pretty easy and simple, and
well, but it's not, because you can't get it to work.
well,
my point is,
it works once, and then when I go to a different computer, it appears as if I have to start all over again. I can't. Is there a way to carry the key from one computer to another computer?
I don't think so, because the keys are all separate. They're individual depending on the type of hardware, the hardware that you have. Even if the hardware was the same brand and make and model and everything, it still has a different key. If you reimage the system, it would also have a different key. So
okay,
you have to start fresh from that other computer. I'm
going to have to have two separate keys then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Does it
I'll
have
ask tech support if I can have two different keys to the same admin account.
Do you remember how you did it on your Mac?
I took some careful notes, so yeah, I can recreate it. That's what I'm in process of doing, to try and recreate it on my laptop, do the same thing I did on my desktop.
I would try just following those same notes on the laptop, and there's a public key and a private key. And
Yeah.
the key, you should be able to use it on both computers. The key on the other side doesn't change.
Right. The key on the server doesn't change.
Right. Yeah. So just follow the same steps on your laptop that you did for your desktop, and that should work.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
I like this DW service tool. That's nice.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I love it. I'm very impressed. And I've only known about it for about 3 weeks, and I've already got a whole bunch of computers in there, and I also I had a problem with. I thought it wouldn't work from a login screen, but it does. I opened a ticket with them, and they replied and asked me a question, and by then I'd already discovered that I can reboot the computer, and when it comes back up again, I can see the login screen, and if I have the password, I can log in. It's a pretty neat thing. So,
Wow.
yeah. Can you do that with TeamViewer?
Yeah, they call it unattended access.
Okay, good.
Okay, moving on. Donna, I know you had some questions over the last several weeks and told me you got most of them answered. You have anything to share with us tonight? You'll have to unmute. There you go. You're unmuted. Except we're not hearing you. Well, you're muted again. I'm sorry. Try on there. Okay, you're unmuted now. Now try your mic.
I have my brother printer working on my desktop computer on the Linux side, which is a hurrah. And I was able to send faxes, which I needed to do. I also tried scanning, and the scanner driver, for some reason, anyway, that's not on, so I've got to go back to brother and try to get that. But I have a different question. When I touch files down below and I go to tell me what version I have, I get under about, I get Nemo,
Yes.
but it doesn't tell me I'm updated to this version. I know I'm updated on both the laptop and the desktop.
Okay, so the updating that we talked about tonight was to update the whole Linux distribution, which includes whatever version of Nemo happens to come with it. Could be the exact same version of Nemo. It's whatever the Linux Mint developers decide to package with the update. So when you look at any of the applications and that you open up in Linux and you go to help about, and you will see what version of that particular application is there. Let me go over to my computer and share the screen again, and I'll
show me where to prove I have the latest update.
well, it doesn't really matter if you get the latest update of Nemo. You want the latest update of Linux. So,
Right.
All right. So I'm going to share my screen, assuming it's going to share. There we go. Right. Okay. So there are a number of different places. The very first one I think was the welcome screen, but let me look at it. Yes. So notice down in the bottom right corner, it says Linux Mint 20.3.
Okay, how do I find the welcome screen? Just type it in, search?
Yeah, you can just type in welcome.
Okay. All
And
right.
there it says welcome screen. And then you can see that I put it on the desktop, and I did that by right clicking on it and saying add the desktop. I don't normally leave it there, but I wanted it there for tonight. So that's one thing. Now, you had mentioned the file manager, so let's do that. So let's look at it. When I open the file manager, okay, I'm going to go to help and about. And you can see it says about Nemo, and you're saying, well, what in the world is Nemo? Well, that's the name that the developers gave to it. And the version of Nemo that's included in this distribution is 5.2.4. Now, I did just update my other computer. If I hadn't, I'd go look at it.
Well, that's
So
what
I don't know, Tim Kekis, can you take a quick look at your version of Linux if it's in front of you and go to Nemo and help about and see if it's the old version is 5.2.4 and this is a new one? Or,
I've got a Nemo at 5.0.5. So
okay,
you're newer than I am right now.
so I wasn't really concerned about that. I just figured, all right, let them update it as needed. So in checking, as I say, in checking what version you've got, the version that you're concerned about with the updates that we've been talking about is
Well,
the
that's what I
version, yeah, it's the version of Linux Mint, Una.
Okay, well, that's what I have. I have that version of Nemo. So, all right, I'm in good shape. The update went real smoothly. And I've been doing nothing but working in Linux and learning new things as I go along, as I stumble along, but I'm working the system and planning to use it full time.
Good. Okay, I'm glad you're making progress. Stu,
Okay, Mike, Ken?
oh yeah,
Yeah,
you go ahead, Ken.
was not having a problem until I tried to follow your system today to upgrade to 20.3. And my computer came up with an error message saying I only have 380.3 megabytes in
Oh.
Yeah.
and
Yeah, you're gonna have to clear out some old stuff.
this is
Yep.
it's all new on this machine. I think it's the old machine. I gotta clear it out.
When you created the configuration of the machine you installed Linux on, did you use gparted and set up partitions for the installation, or did you just take the defaults?
Yes, but this machine has had trouble with partitions before, and I think there's I think it's too old. Tim had the specs on this machine, and he was saying, no, you're probably better off getting a new machine.
Well,
Well-
all I'm saying is your partition may be too small.
Yeah, it's most likely, and this is a problem I run into on my little work versions of Mint. They're on tiny drives. They're only 30 gigabyte drives. And the root partition keeps filling up fast because it's an accumulation of all your download updates and settings and everything else. So what I use is BleachBit. It has the APT at the top of the BleachBit on the left column. You just click on all of those and it cleans out a lot of the accumulating garbage. And if you're on very small partition for root, then you may have to do that very frequently.
Okay.
Like maybe a couple times a month.
I'll do
It's
that and I'll try, and the computer is saying I can go ahead and do Mint 20.3 now, but I was afraid to do it and see it blow up with limited space, so.
Well, the nice thing is it's not exactly like the update from Windows 10 to 11. There's nobody out there saying, we want you to make this update. And you've got a 5-year support from Linux Mint for the previous version anyway. So, you know, if you wanted, if Donna's been able to do it, you can certainly look at her machine and see some of the differences and learn a little bit about some of them. And as I say, in March, I'll probably go over some of the actual new apps just so we can see what the apps do, familiarize myself with them. But I did it just because I wanted to make sure I could do it, you know, for our group. Otherwise, I would have left it alone. In fact, my HP desktop before we started this Linux SIG had been on Mint, I think 18 point something for many years. And before that, it was 17, 16, whatever it was. And I just left it there because I could browse, I could edit photos, I could watch YouTube videos, I could play web-based games. You know, I could do just about anything I could do productivity-wise that I wanted to do with a second computer without having the latest and greatest operating system. I saw no need to do it. And the only reason that I did the update to the 20 series was again to put it in the same configuration as the computers I'm using with the SIG. So it's, it's just something to think about.
One thing I would add, this collection of old garbage that's no longer needed on your Linux system is not unique. It exists in the Mac and it exists in Windows. And so bottom line, this kind of maintenance is required, but sometimes you have to have specialized tools that don't come with your operating system, usually by third parties, and they will help clean out a lot of the garbage. And it's up to you to remember to run these periodically. I do this on Windows, not necessarily with BleachBit, but a similar utility to it. And it takes all the garbage out, gives me many gigabytes of space back for whatever I want to put on the system or future updates.
And you can go back through the CFCS Linux SIG YouTube channel. And I don't remember the month, but I'm going to say sometime in the August, September, probably timeframe, we had a segment on using BleachBit. We went through the menu system, and I'm pretty sure Tim did that too with the Chicago Computer Society. So good thing to look at. Wayne,
it's a very positive tool.
Yep. Wayne, what's up with you with Linux these days?
Well, I'm part of Tim's Linux group. I did get my system up and running. Unfortunately, when I set up the partitions, I don't think I had it set up properly, but I've got a 250 gig SSD drive, and it was telling me I was running out of space in my root, and I had like a 35 gig partition. So the other day I tried to redo with gparted, and I got the thing all screwed up, tried reloading, and now the thing, I guess Linux actually used its own partitions, and it's a micro root thing. So I've got to redo the whole partition thing and start over again. But I did notice before all this happened that it showed me that there was that new update, 20.3. So I sort of took a quick look at it and I said, well, before I get into that, I want to get this other part straightened out.
Well, if you go to the download section of Linux Mint now, since they've done the update, if you download the new ISO for installation, you're most likely going to get 20.3 to install. So you won't have, in other words, if you're starting over anyway, you might as well start over with the current distribution and this current.
Yeah, I've got the ISO on my on a thumb drive, and that's what I've been using to reload it every time.
Okay, well, I'd just say get the new one and replace it.
Okay.
Yeah, that way you'll get 20.3. You should get 20.3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I agree with Mike on that. You might also always get the latest if you're going to have to basically blow away what you got and start over again. Always get the latest version.
Okay.
Okay, to you, Stu. What's happening? And unmute. There you go.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, I got a hold of you sometime this past week. I updated, there was an update that came through for Google Chrome. I was using Google Chrome as my browser.
In Linux.
In Linux.
Okay.
And it came across that went from version 96 to 97.
Mm-hmm.
I could not anymore drag things. I couldn't drag tabs on the main menu, and I could not drag things in the bookmarks from one place to another. And I got concerned. I put in a Google report that I found this, and naturally, they said they get back to me within 24 hours. Well, it's been like 5 days and nobody's got back. So I know Google isn't out there waiting for me to tell them they might have a problem. But I did find a message that came up that said something like, oh, I'm going to look at it so I get it exact. It says drag and drop is not supported. Drag and drop is only supported on local file systems. So I thought, that's interesting, because that stipulation wasn't there before. And it worked in version 96, and it didn't work. You remember, Google is trying to futz around and get their version of Chrome OS and the Chrome browser to the same number, so you don't have different numbers, different places. And so they took the month of November to have what would have been version 95, and they had no version update. They kept it the same through the whole month of November. But now they've come out with this new one. And today I put that error message I got into a search window on DuckDuckGo, and I found there's a GitHub site that's working on this issue. And the amateurs outside of Google have tried to figure out the solution to the problem. It's just that Google hasn't bought it yet. They're still looking at something else. But at any rate, Mike, your suggestion was dump Chrome, and at the time you said, well, I use Chrome. I have Chromium on my computer, and I have no trouble dragging and dropping between.
Right.
So I put Chromium on. I didn't take Chrome off, but I put Chromium on, and I fired it up, and sure enough, I could drag things. But then as I started to put my stuff into Chromium, I found out it came to a point, once I logged into Google with my Gmail and with my Google Drive and things, all of a sudden now I can't drag and drop anymore. I've got the same issue on Chromium that I had on Chrome. So it's because I'm a part of Google's infrastructure that I'm having the issue. So I don't have a problem that's going to be solved, but it's interesting. I thought I'd try Firefox just to see if I can drag and drop on Firefox. That's nice. I keep bookmarks. I run a Chromebook SIG, and I do it locally. And we don't have that many people with Chromebooks in our club, but I like the Chromebook. It's a nice, simplified structure. But there you have no choice. Google has to be your weapon of choice. But
are you able to drag and drop with Chrome, with the Chrome browser in a Chromebook?
It seems like I can. Yeah, it seems like I can. So it's only in the Linux versions, according to the GitHub site. It's only in the Linux versions. I haven't read it completely. I've had a couple of doctor appointments today. And I'll tell you, this goes on forever and ever. If I try to read this thing, it'll take me an hour or two to read through it. But it seems like somebody's come up with a solution. In fact, they've come up with a solution. They said, try typing this in the terminal. And I thought, oh no, I'm not going to do this before my SIG comes up on Thursday, tomorrow. I don't want to type this today and find out that I have no browser. But so I'll do it sometime, and maybe if I can find another computer, I'd just as soon do it on it. But it would be interesting to see. But it seems like this is probably something that got by Google. They didn't see it, and we know they don't design for Linux. They design for the Windows, and hopefully, well, they know that the Windows browser, it uses Google infrastructure underneath, so it's using the same search criteria.
One more test for you. Go to the brave.com website and follow the instructions to install Brave on your Linux.
Yeah, I had Brave installed on this probably 6 months ago, and I know there's several instructions because you have to add the repositories and you got to do all that other stuff, but I just didn't seem to get attached to Brave, but I might go back and try it again.
Well, I was just saying Brave, if you go to Brave and then help about, it will tell you the version of Chromium that it's using in its underlying code.
Okay.
So you can see if it's the same one
Okay.
that Chrome is using, and then try dragging and dropping a tab or a bookmark and seeing if the same issue is there.
It's just a strange situation, but we got through it. And, I'm going to do my SIG. I can do everything I need for my SIG with it the way it is. And if need be, I can always detach myself from Google. And I guess I will be able to drag and drop if I get away from Google, you know. That's all I've been doing.
All right. Stan asked if he could go next, and I think you're last anyway, unless I've skipped someone. So Stan, you got it. No, I think Carl just joined us. So Stan, what's up?
All right, well, I wanted to fill you in, Mike. I spoke to you a couple of weeks ago about the other Stan here in town that had contacted me with all sorts of serious problems on what was it, Windows 7, 6 gig, i3, I guess it was. It had been fine for the past 10 years or so, and he was having huge issues with it. So we talked about possibly switching it over to Linux. Well, I was able to download the 20.2, put it on a DVD, and at that point, he came up with a new issue, and that was, he said that the advest that he had on there, whatever it was, had solved all the problems with his computer. And I said, advest, what is that?
That's AV software, antivirus.
No, it was Avast.
Avast.
He cracked me up. We have Advent Hospital here in Orlando. So he put the D in there and he was sure it was AV something, but it was Avast, and it fixed it completely. So where I took over a regular mouse because he uses a trackball kind of thing, which I can't use. And I couldn't make that work. He just had so much garbage and slowness in that machine. It was incredible. He said the Avast cleared it up fantastically. And so he doesn't want to do anything more. But anyway, I had the DVD with 20.2 on, and I ran it on the Asus CFCS computer. It booted, it worked fine. I was able to, move around, do some stuff. However, then you know that I'm totally involved with Total Commander as a file and directory manager. Been using it for 15 years probably. There's a double commander that is very similar that works both in Windows and in Linux. Well, it was on the hard drive and I tried to run it, and I probably spent an hour trying to figure that out. And man, I was never able to do it. It was not intuitive by any means. And I don't know, I'm I'm not unhappy with Windows. It bothers me that all the updates and going, on 10 and not having complete control of the computer. But I don't know. I'll keep joining you on this SIG just to see what's going on. But I'm a little disillusioned right now myself.
Hey, Stan, you know that Total Commander has an app for Android. If you ever get in the Android phone, and you want to see files. You're the only person I know that likes Total Commander, but I like it too.
Well, I put that on the Android phones that I have. I'm an Android guy. And it doesn't look the same. It's not the two side-by-side windows. It really is very foreign. And so that hasn't been helpful.
It comes out side by side if you run it on a machine that has a landscape mode versus portrait style. What you're running on the phone and it's upper, the way the phone is normally held. If I don't know if it will turn if you turn it 90 degrees, but if you run it like I use it on a Fire Stick to do some work, and it comes out on the TV screen side by side.
I'll have to try that for sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Instead of this way. If you do it this way, it'll work side by side. If you do it this way, it won't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, show and tell works great, Bob.
Yeah. Okay, Carl, if you'll unmute, it's your turn.
I'm shopping for distros and install on a laptop, and I've got to clean up the laptop or clean out the laptop of files. Trying to decide how I'm going to do that.
How old the laptop is it?
It's probably 5 years old or more.
Okay, because there are some distros for older computers that will work better. You know, they're designed for limited memory and limited disk space. If it's a 64-bit computer, even though it's 5 years old, Linux Mint should run fine as long as you've got, say, 4 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of, or even 64 gigabytes of disk space, but just depends on what you have available. But if you go ahead, Tim.
If I'm correct, Carl Wallen's another CCS member, part of my Linux group.
We'll keep stealing them.
Yeah. Well, I actually was trying November, December to get some of the CCS members to check your group out to expand. Everybody's got a perspective on whatever the topic may be. So by having more perspectives, you learn more about the topic. That's my view.
Yep, I agree. Okay, at this point, I'm going to try to accelerate because we've been going for an hour and a half. And I do want to at least cover the utility of the month. So let me go back to.
I believe you guys.
Go ahead. Oh, okay, Bob. Sorry to see you go, but thanks for joining us.
You.
Okay, so we'll share the screen again. Okay, Stacer. Thank you, Donna, for recommending we include this. Let's see. I have shared sound in the past, but I might not have shared sound. I don't know if I have to repeat the sharing of sound each time I share or just do it the first time. If you don't hear audio, let me know. I'm going to play this little, actually, I think I have it on the, just a moment. Okay, I have it sitting here on YouTube. Let's see if this, let me know if you don't hear the audio when it starts. No, I don't hear it either. Oh. All right, let me go back. Stop sharing. We have to go through this whole process again. Stop share. Share screen. Yeah, it says share sound. Share. Okay. Oops, wrong screen. Sorry. Meeting controls. I'm not hearing it either. Okay, I got a bug. So let's just go back to the actual. And I will. Okay, Stacer. So what you're looking at is the main dashboard of Stacer. It's an open source utility to give you a nice graphical status of what your computer is doing, give you your system info where you would also see what the release is, and give you a whole bunch of functions. Some are very much like BleachBit's functions, but they've sort of incorporated the whole thing. And we were just at the Stacer website. So the easiest way to do this is just demonstrate it and go through some of these features and then discuss them as you wish. So I'm going to switch back to, again, assuming I can remember all my things here, stop sharing and go over. And let's see, we are out of that. Okay, so I'm going to share a screen over here. Try. Oh, there we go. Looks like my laptop is slowed down in the middle of Zoom. I've seen this happen before, but I think I'm on it now. Let's try. Whoops. Come on, share it. There we go. Okay, so I am going to go through what I think is the process that I followed. The very first thing I did is go to the software manager and I searched for Stacer. I have seen memory leaks before running Zoom in Linux where things just slow down as a program continues. Okay, and luckily it's here. Now the Stacer website will give you installation instructions at the terminal and all the rest of that. But if it's in the software manager, say, let's just go ahead and do it. And there's the dashboard for it. Installing. I could launch it from here, but I'll just go ahead and close that, find it in my menu. I will put it on my desktop. Stick it over here with my added items. We'll make it full screen. Okay. So right now, yeah, now you can see why my system is not responding to me as much as I would like. And whoever's on the phone, if you would mute yourself, please. So right away, you can see that I've had memory leaks since we started this baby. And I've got a lot of things open apparently, or a lot of resources being used. CPU is really working hard to keep Zoom going and Stacer going and whatever else seems to be open behind it. Probably pCloud is something I could probably close. Let me exit that. That's Stacer. Zoom I'm not going to close. Okay, and I don't think I've got anything else open. Well, that helped a little bit. I got some of my CPU back when I turned off pCloud. Okay, you can see I'm using about half of my memory right now for this distribution plus Stacer and very little disk. But you can see the distribution, we were talking earlier about the amount of size you need on your computer. I just took the default partition setup. So it's basically telling me that the way my current partition is set up, I've got 116.4 gigabytes for it. And I'm only using 12.3 gigabytes for the distribution, all the default applications, and any data that I've put in. It's also testing my internet, my upload and my download speed, which is nice to have. You can see here very simply, if you've got Stacer installed, it's telling you confirmation that I do have Linux Mint 20.3. And I did not keep track of the kernel. The kernel is the underlying code that's behind Ubuntu and then behind Mint. And it's the Linux kernel. And that was one of the updates that the system did once I did the update manager before installing 20.3. So I had a whole bunch of updates that I had to reboot for. So I'm sure this is a later kernel. It's also telling me a little bit about the CPU that's in here. I do have a Core i5 CPU well, it says 4 cores. I'm sure that's 4 threads. I think it's a dual core.
I have the same thing. This is a dual core and it shows 4.
Good.
So it's threads, 2 threads per core.
Now I can do some of the things that I can do with other programs, but you know, this is what you get if you're running CCleaner and you choose to start up apps. It's going to tell you, okay, what have you got set to run when the computer reboots? There's other ways to see this, but it's nice to know. So at the moment, what this is telling me is the only thing when I reboot that's running and reinstalling is pCloud, which I wanted to have so that it would show up down here and show up in the file manager. I just closed it, but because it apparently was using quite a few resources. And here's the dust brush, and this I'm sure is to get rid of stuff. So yeah, very much like BleachBit, I can get rid of package caches. These are things that the package will use for its own internal memory. And I can get rid of reports if things have crashed, probably not too many. Application logs are a real pain in any operating system. I don't know anyone that actually looks at application logs unless you are a developer and you're trying to see what your particular application is doing and you want to look at the logs. But once you've opened an application, if turning off logs is not an option, it's going to put a lot of logs on your system. And they're probably either appending to a very large log or a whole bunch of little logs. So again, you can say, all right, let's clean this up. And then this is the package, which is everything that comes with the application and what's in it and behind it. This is the application itself and any application temporary files that it uses. And so that's going to get rid of that. And then anything I've deleted in trash. So very quickly, I could just say, clean it all and get rid of it. I'm not going to do it now while we're in the middle of a conference. But that's a nice quick way to free up space that we were discussing about earlier. So if you got enough room to put this on your computer, this could do the cleanup necessary to do the update, if you've got the room to get the application on. Okay, so this is kind of looking for things. And I don't know, let's just try Nemo in here and see if it's going to come up and tell me that it's found Nemo. Oh, I gotta go click search. All right, let's see. Oh, it wants to search. It wants to search a directory. Okay, so I got to know what I'm looking for. So I got to go browse. All right, so I really haven't done much with this. As I said, I've just installed it and taken a look at it and whatever. But apparently you can go through and you can see when different folders and directories, as they say, were created. Okay, now, Windows services, many of us have looked at, and there are all kinds of applications, including built-in applications in Windows, to see what services are running, what services are initialized when the computer starts up, and what services you may not need. So you can sort of go through and see what your computer is using. Anything that's green basically is they're saying it's running when you power on. Start up at boot. And then is it running now? So for example, Bluetooth starts up at boot and it's not running now. I have it turned off. Well, I don't use Bluetooth with this laptop. And if I'm concerned about battery life, even though it's not on now because I'm not connected, maybe I would just want to turn it off so that it doesn't even initialize when the computer boots. It doesn't put a drain on the battery. So it's a service that I could turn off. I don't think this computer is ever going to be used by somebody who is vision disadvantaged or vision handicapped and uses Braille. Plus, the keyboard doesn't have Braille anyway. So you need a specialty keyboard and it's a Braille device, but it's built in. It's nice to know that it's built into the distro. But again, I could deselect that. And that's one last thing that, or one thing I could shut off and gain some additional memory perhaps in CPU. You can go through a whole bunch of these things. I did do this on my own personal laptop just to see the things that are activated or not activated. And if you don't know what they are, you can always just do a network search and see what they are and see if you need it or not. Now, keep in mind, just as they advise you in Windows when you consider editing the registry or turning services off, you may handicap your system such that if you turn this off at power up and the system needs it and it's been turned off, you may never be able to get into your system again without reinstalling the whole distro. So when you're going to go play in here, I recommend you have an image backup. And my favorite is Macam Reflect. And we've talked about that in other sessions. But whatever you use to have an image backup of your machine so that you can record, you can restore that image and get back to where you were, then playing around in here probably is not going to hurt anything. System logging service might be another thing that I don't really want to have. I don't know. I got to look into that. But I can't imagine that system logs are required for the system to run. It just wants to put the logs out there, like when it started, when it stopped, that type of thing. So all kinds of stuff you can go through and research and figure out, is this stuff I want to leave on, turn off, don't care because the system's running fine, and so on. Okay, now this is telling me kind of, here's the control for processes. Okay, here's what's actually running. And there's probably a terminal command that could give me this display as well. And you can also sort these columns in the order of usage. So you can see right now, in terms of CPU usage, Zoom is certainly using almost 90% of this computer's memory. And then Stacer's using another 30%. Well, it doesn't add up to 100, does it? But it's a lot, so their math is off a little bit. Okay, we have talked a lot about how you uninstall programs in Linux, and in a recent APCUG, a Wednesday Linux workshop, they went through that as well, and had some very good discussions about different ways to uninstall from just right-clicking on the icon and saying uninstall if it was supported. But this is another way that you can find things that you may not want. And if it's something you don't want or don't think you need, you can run an uninstaller, and these are the different packages. So like, for example, if I did indeed get rid of Brave and and I wanted to uninstall it, then I could uninstall the packages too. Running resources charts. This is something that's fairly common in Windows, and there are a number of other standalone programs that you can install. Kind of neat. You can look at the CPU percentages, and actually what it's showing you is what each core is doing in each of the here for the core. A little history of the load that's been placed on it, a history of disk reads and writes, history of memory usage, which has been pretty steady, downloading speed on a continuous basis, up, down, and upload and download. To me, having this running all the time, I would think would also put some demand on the system resources to keep tracking this, but it's here if you wanted it. And then if you, they should have probably, oh, did they label it? Let's see. No, oh, they broke it out. How nice. Can I actually click on it? No, yeah, they ought to label it or put a color code. Let's see. No, no color code. So I guess you got to go up here to these colors and then come down here to figure out what it is. So it's just showing you that here's my drive size and here's what's free, I'm going to assume, because it said I have a lot free. So, okay. We got tools, host manager, some aliases, my IP addresses, and I can't tell you much about this without doing some further investigation. And repositories. So these are the different repositories that I can get data from. And I do have a CD-ROM on this notebook, but I haven't been using it. But apparently, if I turn this on, I can get the repository for the downloads for CD-ROM ISOs. So right now, these are all the repositories. And if I find one that I want to add, like we were talking about adding Snap, I probably could click on this and say I could search for it and maybe add it. So I will check that out as well and report back. Okay, and this is the device itself's management dashboard. And you can see I've got an auto start, which I don't want. And I've got if I quit the app, don't ask me if I really want to quit. So I will quit the app and see if pops up and says, yeah, well, will the program continue to work on the system tray? I will say quit. And it went away. Okay, so I suppose if I said continue, we'd see Stacer down here in the system tray. And we will stop sharing, see how long this takes. This Zoom is being slow to response. Okay, there we go. Questions about Stacer?
Interesting.
It was, I liked it. It especially the graphic display. So, I'll use that just like I did tonight now. Once the Zoom conference is over, I want to see what the comparison is and the available resources on this notebook. And plus test it out on my HP desktop, which is much more powerful. So, okay.
Well, one of your comments for the various where it has the double gear, it's your services. On Windows, I have a Glary's utility, and there's an option in there where I can look at both the auto startup folder and the services. And I find a lot of stuff that installs on Windows puts junk in there. Most of it can be shut off and your system really improves in performance.
Yeah, this is kind of a cross between Glary Utilities and CCleaner and, a lot of other utilities that we've seen in Windows.
Yep.
And a little bit in BleachBit, some of the things that BleachBit does. It doesn't have the fine detail that BleachBit has in terms of what you're cleaning. And it doesn't have the ability to overwrite if you're, if you want to do some privacy protection of the media that you have things stored on. But it looked like a nice utility. And so I thought it'd be good to review. We're at the 2-hour point. So I had a good hour's worth of other material, which I won't cover, but they will be in the presentation, which I send out to you. I just want to highlight that next Wednesday is the APCUG January workshop at Linux for Beginners. Okay, the 3 dots stand for you've downloaded and installed Linux. What do you do next? So Essentially, it's a new year, a new series of Linux workshops for 2022. And they're going to take it right back to the beginners level for those that have not been in the workshops before. And plus those of you who have run into problems in trying to get Linux usable for yourself, and those thorny problems that just keep bugging you, and perhaps get them answered and give them subjects to do for the rest of the year. I would refer you to YouTube and to the APCUG playlist that's on YouTube. So do a search. And then once you get to the APCUG playlist, you should be able to find a complete list of Linux workshops. And in those workshops descriptions, it'll tell you what they have covered. So you can take a look to see if things have been covered that you might want to talk about during this next workshop that they're going to have next week. But at any rate, if you did not get the APCUG registration link, here the link, I'm repeating it, and it'll be available to you in this presentation. And registration closes on Tuesday night next week at 11:30 p.m. I did find a very nice site called Computer Hope. I was looking for some references on the APT command, like apt-get update or apt-get upgrade, and what the differences were, and apt-get update distro, upgrade distro, and things along those lines. And it's got very good explanations of what the commands are. I found it was a lot less doublespeak or technobabble in their explanation. So something to bookmark and check out. And again, using the file manager may seem kind of rudimentary, but others, it's in a different format than it is in Windows, and it may not, your gestalt may not quite be the same looking at Linux as it was when you're looking at Windows. So this is a very good basic guide put out by Ubuntu Buzz on the Nemo file manager and how to use it and get comfortable with it. I have recommended in the past the Full Circle magazine. I have been putting the weekly blogs in my notes previously, and I've realized that they actually had a monthly magazine. So this is the monthly magazine for December. There'll be one for January when it finishes, and it's a good one. I still continue to recommend MeWe as a social network. It's a heck of a lot safer than Facebook is, with some very good commentary, questions, Q&A, and so on Linux. And I'm on MeWe. If you join, you can send me a request and we can connect. And if you join the Linux group, you'll see some of the posts that I make and some of the comments that I make, and some very good questions and recommendations. And I did discover that if you're still in the Google infrastructure, under Google Groups, there is an open Linux users group. So you don't have to apply for membership. I went ahead and took a look at it, and it's not accessed very much. The last posts were last fall, but there's a history of Q&A in this group that's really quite good. So I recommend these resources to you. Next month, Brookdale, New Jersey is our target. And I will get the information from their organizers, and essentially we'll join as additional users, even though I would ask you when you put your name in, just say the user group that you're coming from. And if they do an introduce yourself kind of thing, say, hey, this was recommended for the same time frame as the Central Florida Computer Society, and we wanted to come join you and see what you're doing. So I told them that if we join, that we'll kind of be, silent partners. We may comment on a couple of things they do, but we're there to see how their meeting works. And I do know that their intermediate goal is to go through the different desktops of Linux. So we've talked about the different distros, but each distro can have different desktops, and multiply that out and see how many thousands of desktops you can have. Many of them look the same in different distros. So one of their goals is to do a review of all the desktops. That's an ambitious goal. A little bit each month. but that's what they intend to do.
Wow.
Okay, so,
Mike,
yeah.
Mike, can you put your presentation on chat?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to, this is a recording. As soon as the recording's been processed and put on YouTube, I'm going to send an email out. You all should have the Linux SIG distro if you got the link to come in and join me. If not, you can, let me stop sharing.
That's what you presented here.
Yes.
Is this a PDF or a?
It will be a PDF of this presentation.
Okay.
And it'll go out with the video.
Oh, okay, okay.
Did you get the information just with a link?
Yes.
Okay, because what I want to do is add you to the CFCS Google group if you're not already there. And then the Google group will in turn send you the notice.
Yeah, because I got a notice from you.
Okay,
Yeah.
well then, yeah, then that, since you got a notice from me, you will get the recording link, you will get, and you will get the PowerPoint presentation and all the
Okay.
links, all these links are active. So
Very good.
you can see that all you have to do is just hover over them and you can go to them.
Right.
All right, so let me stop sharing here. So that's going to be a shift back. Last minute comments before we wrap this up?
Very good. Very good.
Oh, it was very good, Mike.
And Sean, thanks for your very comprehensive review of the remote control program. I know we'll talk more about it on the tech SIG.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good night, guys.
Good night.
Thank you.